This Torah on Tisha B'Av is based on a shiur I heard from Rav Bernstein online. I attached the link below. Melanie, please take a look. It begins about halfway. It's different to hear from him than it is for me, even though I took many of his ideas. And it's important to hear Divrei Torah about Tisha B'Av, so we understand what we're going into through the day, or we understand what we're experiencing throughout the day, what we're commemorating. So Rav Bernstein begins with the introduction to the Midrash of Echa called Pticha Echa Rabti, and it quotes a pasuk in Yirmiyah 51:51. Boshnu kishamanu cherpa. We're ashamed because we heard of our shame. Kista achlima panenu. Disgrace covers our face. Kibal zarim al mikdeshe beit Hashem. Because strangers have come to the mikdeshe beit Hashem. Now the Midrash explains what this pasuk is talking about. What are the veiled references to here? Boshnu kishmanu cherpa, the shame, that's the 17th of Tammuz. That's the Cheder Egel. Kista chlima panenu, disgrace covers our face, that's the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av. Kibao zarm, that is the sin of the Meraglim, the Chen Meraglim. Kibao zarm al mikdeshe beit Hashem, mikdeshe, those are the two temples, the first Beit HaMikdash and the second Beit HaMikdash. Now the Beit HaLevi says in Parashat Bo that this is referring to how each event corresponds to a specific destruction, to a specific Churban. The Cheder Egel, that corresponds to the first Beit HaMikdash destruction. The Chen Meraglim, the sin of the spies, that corresponds to the second Beit HaMikdash destruction. Now, first, I'm a little puzzled by this. Well, what does that mean? What is Beit HaLevi trying to say here? So, Rav Bernstein here quotes a Gemara from the Yerushalmi in Yoma. It says something very interesting. So, here's what it says. So, Avotenu heviru et tikun. Our ancestors, the generation of the first Beit HaMikdash, they removed the roof. Now, the whole Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. It wasn't just the roof, it was the entire building. So, the Gemara seems to be diminishing the extent of the Churban. Okay. Then the Gemara goes on. Aval anu, our generation, the second Beit HaMikdash destruction, then it quotes Tehillim, Aru ad Yesod ba, uprooted from the foundation. Now for us, they were both the same, more or less. Physically, they were destroyed. There wasn't really much difference. But the Gemara here seems to be emphasizing the difference. That first destruction wasn't so bad. The second generation, terrible. The first destruction just destroyed the roof. The second generation uprooted the foundation from its uprooted the Beis HaMikdash from its foundation, from its core. Now, how are they different? So here we go on to a famous Gemara in Yoma, Tet Amud Beis. That's the Gemara Bavli. So why was the first Beis HaMikdash destroyed? Because of the three Averot Chamurot. That's to say, Shvichut Damim, that's murder, spilling blood. Gilu Arayot, illicit relations. Avodah Zarah, idol worship. The three worst averos you could do in Torah living. What was the second Beis HaMikdash destroyed? Sinas Chenam, baseless hatred. Now there are other things going on, but the Gemara seems to be kind of just glossing over that, sweeping over it all, and just Sinas Chenam, that's what caused it. Now that is a chiddush, because the Gemara says, it's to teach us that Sinas Chenam is as bad as the three worst averas. But it goes even further than that. It's like, actually, Sinas Chenam is worse than the three averas. How does it know that? So it says, just look at the first Beit HaMikdash. Look at the first Churban. That lasted 70 years. And then the Jewish people returned and we built the second. What happened after the second Beit HaMikdash? That was destroyed because of Sinas Chenam. We're still here. There's no third Beit HaMikdash. We're still suffering from Sinas Chenam. Now, how can it be? How can it be that Sinas Chenam is worse? So, there's another statement in the Gemara. And it's rarely quoted. I had actually never heard of this before Rav Bernstein said it. Not to say that I'm the authority, but it was surprising. And it says this. Look, Rashaim, that first generation, Rishonim, Rashaim Hayu, they were wicked people. Ella shetelu bitchonam b'Akadosh Baruch Hu, but their bitachon in God. Now that seems to be kind of catching us totally by surprise. because they are committing murder and idolatry and illicit relationships, the worst things that you could have, and suddenly, bitachon, look, they had bitachon. And that's a mitigating factor, that's a redeeming quality that first generation had. They were okay, at least to some extent, they had bitachon. What does that mean? Well, the Vilna Gaon says, that's very interesting. Well, first, it seems to be telling us that bitachon, look, if it exists, if it's there, it counts for something. Yes, the other things are wrong, but you have bitachon, so that's at least something. You have something to hold on to. Now, the Vilna Gaon says that, look, there seems to be a lot of comparing and contrasting the destruction of the first temple to the destruction of the second temple. So he implies something. Let's just say, the first Beit HaMikdash, that generation, they had bitachon, and they came back. The second generation, the Churban happened, there was a second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, and they didn't come back. So the Gra implies that's because the second generation didn't have bitachon. Now that's a bit of a problem because the Gemara says, look, why did the second Beit HaMikdash get destroyed? Because that generation had sinas chinam. They hated people for no reason. And the Gemara is saying, oh, they didn't have bitachon. So he's giving a replacement reason. So the Gemara says, no. Bitachon, sinas chinam, it's the same thing. Stems from the same source. Same thing. Now, we still have a problem, because we're saying that the second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of Sinat Chinam, and now the Gemara is giving a reason for Sinat Chinam. We didn't have bitachon. So you're giving a reason to that which is supposed to have no reason. You hate them for no reason. It's for no reason, not because you don't have bitachon. So now, the Gemara seems to be explaining that it's a very strange thing for people to dislike people almost as like a policy. It's like, I have a policy that I dislike people for no reason. So we need to go in and explain what Sinat Chinam is. We discussed some of this last year. Now, if someone threatens you, then you'll dislike them. You'll bear them ill will. But if someone doesn't threaten you, there's nothing. So nothing. So you have no response. What if they don't threaten you, but you perceive it as if they do threaten you? Now you'll bear them ill will. That's for no good reason. That's what Sinat Chinam is. It's bearing ill will, hating someone, for no good reason, not for no reason. It's based on your perception. Now, when someone surveys those around him, and he bears ill will towards them, that's because he's thinking, what are they taking that could otherwise belong to me? If I don't worry about myself, then who'll worry for me? It's a competition. I gotta assert myself in this world. Gotta take what's mine, and that's what's that. These other people are competing against me. So you see that if someone just takes a step back and just kind of relaxes and releases, and he's assured that no one will take anything from him that doesn't belong to him, then he won't bear them ill will, because he trusts that Hashem will take care of them, because he has bitachon. We can see this. If you look at the same group of people, bring them to a buffet line, suddenly the calculations are, look, there are a limited number of resources here. I have a number of competitors. Anything goes. You take those same group of people and you seat them at a table, right? And it's the services by waiters. You each get your own personal plate. Suddenly, there's this aura of magnanimity. The waiter comes to serve. Don't serve me first, serve him, please. You'll pass along your plate. Make sure that other people get served first and get taken care of. What happened here? What changed? Nothing changed, except for one thing. You're sure that you'll be taken care of. Once you know you'll be taken care of, natural goodwill just comes along and expresses itself. That's the only difference. So sinas chinam is a symptom of a sense that nobody is looking out for me. And if that's true, then people get in their way. Either they're a real threat and they need to be taken care of, or you perceive them as a threat, in which case they need to be taken care of. So if you can just just stand back and just be like, I'm not worrying because God will take care of me and everything will be taken care of and have bitachon, then that will just evaporate. And we see that earlier generation that had bitachon. Now the Gemara is not glossing over the fact that they did terrible things. They did terrible things. Terrible. But the Jewish core was there. The core of Judaism is that we trust in God. We have bitachon in God to take care of us. As long as they had that, what they're doing now is wrong, but they have a redeeming feature. They can take care of it. They can grow past it. It takes work, but they can do it. That second generation, they're doing many good things. They're doing many mitzvahs, but the core was rotten. They had no bitachon. Now, aside from anything else, this should really kind of synthesize these ideas of the mitzvahs ben adam l'chavero and ben adam l'makom. Because you'll often hear that there are people who are, look, I'm a ben adam l'chavero person. I believe in the Torah, but I do good things and I do kindness to other people. And my relationship with God is not so important. Because ultimately I treat other people well, and that's that. You have other people who are like, look, other people, I'm sure they can take care of themselves, but me, I'm a ben adam l'makom guy. I want to focus on my relationship with God. I want to connect to Him, and that's that. Now we see here, what this is teaching us clearly, is a person who has bitachon, says the Vilna Gaon, a person who has bitachon, he trusts in God, his relationship with ben adam l'makom is in place, ben adam l'chaver will just flow out naturally. Those two things work together. You can't separate them. They work together. You want to have good things in both sides, then you need to have both. They can't work without the other. Now, so we see that these are very important discussions about sinat chinam. So we see sinat chinam. It's actually interesting. Sinat chinam is stated explicitly by the Gemara. How do we know that the generation had bitachon? It did not have bitachon, that second generation. It was inferred. It was implied. It's not stated, but it's there. It's hanging over the Gemara. That's what seems to be hanging in the air. Now this brings us to the Chet HaMeraglim. Because we saw earlier from the pasuk we explained that the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because the Chet HaEgel. The second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because the Chet HaMeraglim. Now, if we just look at the Chet HaMeraglim, even just on a fairly basic understanding of what happened, there's a lack of bitachon. Say the Jewish people wanted to go scout out the land. That's fine. That's ishtadlut. That's okay. The spies come back. They say, there's no chance. They're too strong for us, these people, the people who live in that land. And we need to ask, well, too strong for who? Too strong for you? Maybe. That might be true. They might be stronger than you. Too strong for God? It's a different equation. And that's why Yoshua and Kalev and Yefuna piped up. Like, God is with us. He's with us. We're fine. Let's go in. We're okay. Because ultimately the question of whether or not to go in, are they too strong or are they not too strong, depends on another question. Is God with you? If God is with you, then you're fine. You're taken care of. Everything will be well. But the Meraglim didn't see that way. God is not with us. We're by ourselves. And if we're doing this on our own, we don't stand a chance. And Bnei Israel were traumatized by that. They're like, God is not with us. And they started to cry. B'chiyah shel chinam. Sinas chinam. These things might be related, right? That's the only time Rav Bernstein says that he ever sees this term related. The sinas chinam, like hatred for no reason, for no good reason. And b'chiyah shel chinam. You cried for no good reason because you thought that God was not with you, and He was with you. So we see that we link these two things. That the reason why the second Beit HaMikdash was a lack of bitachon, the Chet HaMeraglim, this whole core, the beginning of Tisha B'Av, the first Tisha B'Av happened because of lack of bitachon. This is an important lesson to take in. And should be comforted quickly. The Beit HaMikdash should be built, the Mashiach should come and comfort us all.